walk in, lights, talk about stuff. So the last one, machining the bits that needed machining for the third link cat handy thing. So if you haven't seen that one, you probably have. I don't have that many people who watch these. I'm sure you've seen that one. So we're doing the third link cat handy things from the CAD model that I was able to make. I'll put a picture up. So from the CAD model here, I was able to make a jig around it as well. So we've got big plate at the bottom, and then the kind of bar thing going to the top. And I didn't want to make loads of jigs and fill up the place with, you know, rubbish. So I made it so it's all reversible. I can flip it, bolt stuff to the other side, and the geometry will change correctly, so I can get a left and a right out of one set of jig stuff. So anyway, I sent that off to laser cutting. And we've got, I'll tell you what, I'll slide all the little ones off. Right, so that's the main bottom one. I think it's only S275, but it's 10mm, and I thought I can always double it. If I get it and it's a bit flexy still, I can always double it up. But 10mm should do. The third arm acts as the triangulation. Anyway, this is laser cutting and it's accurate-ish, but it's not great, especially when you're cutting through 10mm and you're trying to do like 10 M12 holes or something. So I want to pin it. So I'll hold it back here so, you know, people can't nick all the... I mean, it's irrelevant actually, isn't it? It's irrelevant where the things are. I'll hide those ones. I need to put pins in so it locates right and it can 180 and then locate for the other side. So it needs to go to the milling machine. I need to take the vise off. I need to drill for pins. I need to re-drill any of the other holes if they're kind of locating something properly. Just do everything that's in that drawing basically. And even though all of the dimensions look like BS, it's because the plane's changed. So I just dial it into the Gr.A R32 and everything will be okay. That's pretty good. I say right at the end we lose 0.02mm, but that could just be frickin' laser beams, man. See if Mr. Laser Beams managed to get it square, huh? That's so good, I'm questioning if it's touching that. Load her up. Cheeky mare. Are you okay? You're not moving. Can't be that good. I'll tell you what, how about I get all this drilling done and then I'll meet you the other side and I'll dress differently. The pegging is done. I've started tapping the holes, so it all bolts together, pegs align it, and then the holes with bolts and stuff hold it together. So alignment, hold you together. Done the four bottom ones there. I tell you what, it was quite hard to get those in. I actually snapped my little I snapped my little tap wrench, so I got this nice big boy off eBay, vintage tap wrenches, if anyone fancies a good eBay search to get into. If you hear a bit of a whirring in the corner, it's the old futuristic 3D printer, but we'll get into what that's doing a bit later on. Let's get these holes done, and then I'll show you some other bits that I did when I couldn't be bothered to turn the camera on. Pretty good. So we've got, this is the main tab bit. This will go up to the top link, and it's pegged here. And then these two, this is where like the damper attaches. So this is pegged and this is tapped. So all of those can bolt down. This big hole I also did on the mill to get centered. That's where the bearing is that goes down to the upright. So the main important bit really is this. All these bits are just for the damper. It doesn't really matter where they go too much. So I think these three and this one bearing hole are what I'm going to concentrate on now. They need little stubs for the tubes to sit on, and then this needs a big stub for the bearing tube to sit on. So I'm going to machine those on the lathe, and then we're on to welding, I think, after that. 6062 T6, the boy, the go-to. So there is a couple of issues with new bandsaw so far, which is fine. It's to be expected. It's a new old tool. It needs a little bit of calibration. She's slightly out, but that's all going to be on the bearings and whatnot. So we'll sort that out. Also, the on-off switch is actually the emergency stop. So there's no way of turning it off, which is slightly dangerous, I guess, but we're not in a workplace, are we? It's all kind of secretive in here, so we can do what we want. I'll probably just leave it. We're going for the 3-jaw today. Oh, bollocks. Which means it's going to be wildly inaccurate, but it's fine, as long as you don't turn the work around. It's usually okay, but I ain't got the time to be using a 4-jaw. Oh, it's hot, 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 hot. There he goes. There they go. Right, we got all three. Accidentally put a little bit of a ribbed for her pleasure in there. I went the wrong way with the tool, but it's a jig. doesn't matter, crack on, time for this one. Let's figure out what we're doing with this. I'll film this one as well, and then you can decide if you want to skip through it or not. There's a good idea. Go on mate, get in there. There you go, off you go. When did that go out of focus then? I mean, I didn't record as much of this as the other one because it's just the same but bigger, isn't it? It's not very interesting. Anyway, I'll polish that edge bit and then it's done. We'll take it out. It's not got the biggest lip on it because I didn't want to buy any more material, but should be enough to hold it down. So that'll bolt underneath. It's gone all the way through the table because I've got a hole in my table. But it does go all the way through. Could bolt it to the table, couldn't I? Good idea. Anyway. Right, I've now got to make this tower thing. So that fits kind of there, but this isn't the actual one. The actual one I've kind of cut to length-ish with the bandsaw. But I'm going to get it absolutely on the nail with the mill. And then weld the bits on. I just flipped it and then made a cut on the top, and now I'm doing the other side. I just used a square to put it back the same, you know, the same into the vise as it was before, so I can just do it on here still and I don't have to reset anything. Square. Square as square can be. It's actually not square if you use this Baco set square that I used to think was it combination square? Combo square. It's a bit DIY. It's a bit like, yeah, it's not very engineery. How's that? Not bad for a bit of Amdram. Do you know what is an absolute touch that I didn't actually plan? I think those pinholes align perfectly with the kind of opposites of this, so if I put those halfway in so they're sticking out a little bit this side and a little bit that side and tap that down, I reckon we're cool. I reckon that's going to align it all it needs to be aligned. I tried to braze this, but I think I used brazing rods that you're supposed to use with a torch rather than a TIG. So it went poof, and then put crap everywhere. So I just welded it with mild. It's not my finest work. Anyway, so the 3 tubes come up here, and this is the top tube where the top arm goes. So this is the jig section that's holding that was at the beginning of the video that's there now. So I just want to put a couple of tacks under there, and then I might lie it down and just measure it a load. I won't show that because it'll be boring. So what I'll show now is just welding this section up, and then we just got to quickly do the bits that hold the damper. The bits that hold the damper are just bits that I've already milled that fit together. I'll probably jam them together in a vise, quick weld on there, and they bolt and pin. Should we talk about this? So I'm using this to get the angle of the doodah right and to get the alignment right. But it does much more than that. So where the tubes come up, it's quite complicated because they all go into the top bar in different places. So I had to figure out a way to mark them to be able to scallop all the tubes, because the tubes aren't cut to length by the people that did the bend. So I used the CAD model. I'll just show you the kind of, maybe the raw surface that came across from the scanning peeps, or Mr. Scanner, Mr. Mark. And then on top of that, so I had to build the real deal afterwards. So I'll move the scan out the way, and you can see all the tubes that I've layered over the top of that, and it will look like the image that I've kind of already shown you. Then you can see how complicated the kind of top bit is, and that, you know, cutting all of those right and getting them in the right place and, you know, to length is going to be a bit of a nightmare. So Bing, I'll put it up now, I designed this bit. So it holds all of the tubes in place. If this is too high and doesn't align with the bolts, I know how much to chop the bottom tubes by. And then anything that sticks out of the end of it, I can just mark with spray paint or a pen or anything, and that's the material I need to take off, and then it will fit perfectly with the top bar because it's got the profile on the inside. But what it also lets me to do, as long as I'm quick enough, is tack all this in place. If I'm not quick enough, it's just PLA, so it'll melt away. And I made this on the old 3D printer, the joys of 3D printing. I think I've said before, I think 3D printers, cheap hobby ones, are a bit terrible if you know, for production type vibes, unless you really know what you're doing. But for jigs, I mean, they're really good. How else would you do that? It would just, I mean, you'd have to have skills and stuff. You've got time for skills. They're the tubes. You haven't seen it. I might put some photos in. You haven't really seen them yet. Yeah, they're tubes. They're metal. They've got bends in them, but they're pretty close. In the next one, I need to cut them to length at the bottom because I asked them to leave them a little bit oversized, just so it's my fault if it's wrong. Profile them at the top. Got to do the top tube. Then I might be able to start sticking things together if I can remember how to put good welds on things, which, going by this, might need a bit more practice again. Yeah, it's not going to get finished that quickly. There's loads to do. I've got all the design stuff done. I need to get the laser cutting done and back, but there's just so much fabrication work in these that, you know, if you want to do it properly, it takes a long time. But it will get done. All the other stuff is CNC stuff, I think. So that might kind of happen a bit, but it would happen a bit quicker if I had the money in the bank. But we'll get there. We'll get there. There's no rush. Got other things going on.